How to go pro in Fortnite in Chapter 4. Whether you're a casual player trying to get into competitive or an experienced competitive player trying to gain some more structure, this video is going to help you out. At the time I'm making this and the time you're watching it, it's probably not even Chapter 4 yet, but the process of going pro has been the same since day one, and it's good to get a head start on things, so start grinding now. Timestamps are down below if you want to skip around. Step 1 in the process of going pro is gaining and maintaining pro mechanics. Mechanics in the game are always constantly evolving, so it's important to stay on top of that stuff. So if you're a beginner trying to understand what mechanics are and how to get better at them, I'm laying out all the mechanical skills that you need to get down on the screen right now. If you don't know what some of these are, or you feel like you need to improve at them, write it down on a piece of paper and come back to it later. You need to make sure you're getting all these to a top tier level, and it all starts out with just watching a YouTube tutorial. I should have videos on pretty much all these concepts down in the description. The general way you're going to get better at any mechanical skill is by starting out in a creative practice map, like a Raider Peace Control map to try to get peace control down. Running those maps every time you get on helps you get that muscle memory down. So I typically start in a practice map when I'm trying to get a new skill down, and then I hop into 1v1s. I try to apply that stuff into my 1v1s. I really focus on it and do everything I can to step out of my comfort zone and apply those new skills. And once you can start doing it in 1v1s consistently, that's when it transfers over to in-game. It's a simple 3-step process: creative practice map, 1v1s, and then it'll transfer to in-game eventually with time. But like I said, there should be tutorials for all of those mechanical skills down in the description. So that's how you gain those mechanical skills, but what about maintaining it? The best way to maintain good skills is just by playing the game a lot, but more specifically, spending your time in creative 1v1ing really skilled players. Pro players typically have like a 3-step practice plan. They spend their time wagering, 1v1ing, 2v2ing other pro players in creative. They run a lot of scrims, they VOD review and talk with their coaches, and then play the tourneys. It's a simple 3-step plan: creative practice, scrims, VOD review. And if you ever notice a specific mechanical skill of yours dropping off, like aim, let's say your aim's been really bad for the past like 2 days, then hop into Kovaaks or some kind of aim trainer. You just gotta be paying attention to your skill and see whatever's lacking and work to fix it. So that's the first step of going pro: gaining and maintaining pro mechanics. The second step is gaining pro fighting sense, which basically just means fighting knowledge. Knowing how to approach different fights the best way possible, knowing how to apply those mechanical skills that you just learned in the best way possible, and knowing how to fight against the top tier players at the fastest rate possible. So like I said in the previous part of the video, in my opinion, this comes down to running a ton of 1v1s against pro players. More specifically, if you're not a pro yet, you gotta start at your skill level. Work on building connects, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be in Discords, whether it be in Twitch communities. Try to find players that are around your level or maybe a little better. Build a friend group over time. It may take months to find like a good amount of people that are around your skill level, but there's lots of places to network. You could even just literally go to a Scrim Discord and find people there to 1v1. But I heavily encourage you to not just 1v1 people from creative matchmaking all the time. Try to find people that are really going to push you out of your comfort zone. If you're winning 1v1s against everybody you fight in creative, but then you're losing them in tourneys, you're just not pushing yourself hard enough. But yeah, that's the first way to gain pro fighting sense. Another way is just to W key an arena. If you're still a beginner arena player, I recommend dropping somewhere a little bit safer. Don't drop tilted. But once you get really confident in arena, start dropping tilted on repeat and really push yourself to take as many fights as possible. At the end of the day, the more fights you take, the better you're gonna get. And then the last and probably best way to gain pro fighting sense is to take more fights in tourneys. Just push yourself. Even if you think you're gonna lose, take those fights, at least in your first game, and then watch it back, VOD review those fights, and try to learn from the mistakes. For example, let's say you're fighting in the 4th zone, where there's a lot of players in a pretty small area, and you get lobby focused because you positioned wrong in a fight. Try to learn from that. Try to figure out like, oh, there were a lot of people based up on my back, and I got sprayed from my back, and then the team I was fighting was on my front, like, I got pinched. Trying to find positioning things like that, like how could you have positioned better? The only way you're gonna learn stuff like that is by doing the W keying in a tournament and then watching it back later. So push yourself in tournaments to try to take a few more fights. Now the last thing, and this is probably the most important thing when it comes to pro fighting sense, you need to make sure that you're learning the difference between optimal and unoptimal. Taking the most optimal peaks possible where the enemy doesn't even have a chance to shoot you because your peak was so good. Or piece controlling from behind cover, like you do it through a window peek and the enemy could never see you, but you full box them while they couldn't see you. Like optimal versus unoptimal, that's that's one of the most important concepts in Fortnite fights. There's a tutorial down in the description talking more about that as well. The third step to going pro in Fortnite is grinding scrims. I get asked all the time, but I've never known, what are the Scrim Servers for every single region called? So I tweeted out and got the best scrims for every single region and put them down in the description for you. If you're a bit of a newer player, you might not be able to get into the best scrims right away, so in that case, you need to start in the open scrims and work your way up. For example, the best scrims on NA East are vital scrims, but there's requirements to get in. You either need to qualify from Manu's open scrims, or you need to have a certain amount of PR to get in. But the scrims are down in the description for you to check out. Just search the name on Google and then join the Discord from there. The reason grinding scrims is so important is because it's literally the only realistic endgame practice you're going to get outside of tournaments. Like, Arena is never going to feel like a tournament. Zone Wars, never gonna feel like a tournament. Scrims are the only thing that actually get you that endgame experience. Not gonna lie, this has been the biggest thing holding me back because I've been putting way more time into content rather than scrimming. Going into next season, I'm gonna be scrimming a lot more, and I recommend you do as well. Last thing, just make sure you're following the rules of the Scrim servers. Make sure you know you're not fighting when you're not supposed to, all that stuff, because if you get banned from scrims, you're gonna regret it. Now, step number 4 is probably the most important and the one that the least amount of people actually do. Learning from your mistakes via VOD reviews. I'm telling you, most of the people that are really good at the game but never actually push through to the pro level are the people that are too lazy or don't take the time to VOD review. The more you watch your game and the more you watch games of pros, the more you're gonna learn. By just simply playing the game, it all happens too fast. You can't really fully digest what is going on in the lobby all the time. That's why taking time and VOD reviewing the games is the best way to improve. Combining consistent VOD review with consistent scrimming is going to be the fastest thing to get to the pro level and start placing better in tourneys. One of the best pieces of advice that I got from Cease is he said, you should never make the same mistake twice in a scrim, but you're going to make that same mistake again if you don't take the time to VOD review and learn from that mistake. But once you learn from it in a VOD review, you need to focus on it and try to not make that same mistake again in the scrim. And if you're new to Fortnite, you may not know what to look for in VOD reviews, but just an FYI, I have done a lot of VOD review videos on this channel, so you could watch those, learn from the stuff that I learned from in those VOD review sessions, and it'll help you learn how to VOD review your own gameplay. But yeah, I mentioned it really quickly. Another thing I do pretty consistently is VOD review pros. Sometimes I post a video when I do a pro VOD review, like just the other day, I VOD reviewed the winners of FNCS Invitational. VOD reviewing pros like that is so crucial. It helps you learn so much. Ken and I applied some of those notes from the VOD review into some scrims, and we won 3 out of 4 games, bro. It was only open scrims because there was no other scrims going on, but still, that's pretty crazy. So mark my words, bro, VOD reviewing and scrimming is so important. Now, the last thing to go pro is balance. Balancing all these things I said in this video: mechanical practice, fighting practice, scrim practice, and VOD reviewing consistently. If you can balance all of these things, you will get better so fast. Put more time into the things that you think you need more practice in. If you feel like your mechanics are really slacking, put more time in creative practice. Put more time in aim trainers, put more time in 1v1s. But if you feel like the biggest thing holding you back is rotations and not understanding endgame, then put more time in scrims. But never cut any of these things out of your routine entirely. Balance, you gotta keep them all consistent, and you'll see consistent growth. And then, of course, keep balance in your real life as well. Balance Fortnite with school, work, working out, socializing. Make sure you're maintaining a healthy lifestyle and not screwing yourself over by playing too much Fortnite. I know it's a lot in this video, but think about it. It's only 4 things, 4 steps. You can easily balance 4 Fortnite practices with the rest of your life. You got this. I hope this video helped you out. All the stuff you need is down in the description. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.